welcome back again. We are back, Abba.
Yes, give thanks.
Had a nice break. Had a drink of water and a chat in the fresh air. And then our chat brought us to a 5-point conclusion. Ukuthi kahle kahle, all of this, what we were talking about, how you merge Jesus and then you change Jesus into Khobe or Khobeani. Because now ngoba umpedi, you grew up in a Pedi community and you were raised knowing Khobe. So, and Khobeani, his son. Like that whole concept of the Messiah. So Khobeani becomes now the Messiah because Jesus now is the Messiah of the Hebrew race. This merging of concepts, why was it necessary? And what was the purpose of it? Because mina mangicabanga ngayo, you know, I come to a 5-point conclusion. The five questions that lead to any establishment of any religion or institution or anything for that matter is, who am I? Where do I come from? Why am I here? What am I here to do? And where am I going? And if these 5 questions cannot be answered or can be given false answers, I think the individual now becomes a problem. Oguti, who are you? And you don't know your place in existence. And this leads to us finding our identities outside of ourselves. We become converts to religions. We become members of churches. We become affiliated with groups. We become members of movements. And in those movements or in those collectives, the individual somehow disappears to the background, loses relevance. My question here is, all of this, we spoke the previous time I was here about my brother who I was talking to, Umkhulumenzi Masego. He asked the question, Uguti, has religion worked? Has Christianity worked? Has the church solved our problems? And my answer to that was, it wouldn't be evolving so much if it did have an effective role that it played. Because now, today, says Priyana Ngamatum, 100 years ago, it was not done. What makes Doom more special today than back then? And I'm asking also in context with the Rastafari faith, you know, because as I've mentioned in our introduction that you are my master. And in the Rastafari movement, that's where I got my spiritual initiation from you. And well, today I don't identify as Rasta, but my master is Rasta. Now, in the movement of Rasta, I realized and I learned to Guti, all right, you've mentioned previously, Nyayabingi, and then there's Bobo Ashanti, 12 tribes of Israel. And my question is, in connection with everything we've been speaking about, colonialism, Christianity, and this neo-African tradition that is merged with Europeanism, the Rastafari faith, what contribution does it have to answer the questions that we are facing? Because His Majesty Haile Selassie once said in a speech, Oguti, Africans are in bondage because they look for solutions to African problems outside of Africa. So how can we put all of that together and say now we are coming back to ourselves from a Rastafari perspective?
Well, give thanks. Actually, Rastafari began as a response to colonialism and slavery. It began in the condition of slave plantations of Jamaica, a product of plantocracy, if you may. Now, in that process, this is the Africans, we were taken by force from Africa. They are deculturalized, detribalized, delinguisticized, they are transplanted They're taken out. The only thing African left about them is their skin color.
Skin color.
And certain things that they will do by instinct. And then
Dancing.
because of their instinctive doings, then those who are surrounding them, like the Europeans who enslaved them, they'll be saying, these African things, because they find them strange to their Europeanness.
Their way of life.
So, but Rastafari, over the years, like I say, it began as a response to colonialism and slavery. It began as a liberation movement. But through the process of time, some aspect of it, great aspect of it, large aspect of it, morphed, it absorbed in Afro-Caribbean Judah Christianity. A distinctive form of Christianity which is Afro-Caribbean, that include revivalism, Mayalism, Kumina, aspects being incorporated. In the process of that, and Baptist, in the process of incorporating this Afro-Caribbean Judah, not Judeo, Judah Christianity, a form of Christianity that is centered around the Lion of Judah.
The Lion of Judah.
Which is the Emperor Haile Selassie. And then, but nevertheless, continue to be Judeo-Christian because they then use the King James Version of the Bible
As a point of reference.
as a point of reference. They think changing the name God with Jah and Lord with Rastafari and, and others with Haile Selassie, you are
Heaven,
decolonizing it. But they're not decolonizing it, they're engaging in great plagiarism. Now, the process of the great plagiarism that then later characterized Rastafari to the point that some of them will say Rasta is a true Christian, which raised the question that if Rasta is a true Christian, does it make Christian a false Rasta?
Okay.
You understand? And then they will go to the point of claiming that Christ was black. The original Jews were black. Making reference to verses in the Bible, Daniel 7. All these different verses that his skin is like a brass. His hair is like a pure wool. His eyes are like flames of fire. But I'm saying those are the same definitions, characteristics of Muammar Gaddafi.
Exactly.
So does that make Gaddafi African?
Or even
is
Southern
Arab?
Europeans.
Southern
They are
European.
darker skins.
They're darker skins. Even the thick hair and
Black
all
like
of
a raven.
exactly the Sai Baba in India got a big afro. You see, now they go around and then pick up people who look like Africans and claim them to be African, and say because of their darker skin and so forth they're African. Now these are the result of this brand of Rastafari, which moved from Rastafari to Christafari, because then it started to use Christ to rationalize Tafari. They started to tell that His Majesty is the returned Christ. His Majesty, it is the
Christ in his kingly character.
Christ in his kingly character. In spite of the fact that there was an interview like the way we see it between Bill McNeil and Haile Selassie in 1968-69, where His Majesty was asked, His Majesty, many people in Ethiopia and outside of Ethiopia worship you as Christ. What do you say about that? He said, I am not Christ. And I've told certain Rastafarians that I'm not. Remember, this is a man who met Rastafari 3 times. 1960, during the Back to Africa mission, which the 3 Rastafari was Mortimer Plano, Douglas Mack, and Filmo Alverang. 1963, the second mission. 1966, he went to Jamaica. And he met them. And then he asked the 3 questions. Why do you praise, you say Haile Rastafari is God? They say, they quote the Bible. And they ask him about his titles. As Bona just asked, His Majesty, is not your title the King of Kings, Lord of Lords? And then he asked them about dreadlocks. They quote Numbers chapter 6, the Bible, the law of the Nazarene. He asked them about the ganja. They also quote the Bible. But then what is interesting is his response, that His Majesty therefore said, this can be another interpretation of the Bible. Because I studied in Ethiopia, I went to theology college. I was given a scholarship by the former Abuna, the late Abuna, His Holiness Abuna Paulos. I was given a scholarship to study between 2004 and 2006 in Ethiopia. I went to a theology college. What I learned then is that the Bible is not written in the layman's language.
Okay.
It's not like Pace Magazine and Bonner Magazine and Drum Magazine and True Love. Understand?
It's like an onion, it's layered.
It layered. So it is written in metaphors, in similes, in symbolism, proverbs, and that are cultural specific,
And
which
idioms.
are
Culturally specific idioms.
These are idioms of the Jews.
Exactly.
These are proverbs of the Jews.
Which won't apply.
Now, before, and that's when I stopped reading the Bible and I stopped wanting this Rasta who read Bible to read it for me. Because I then learned that they don't qualify. Because when you study within the college, then they said, you need to do 4 years of interpretation. They call it Tirgum. 4 years you study the interpretation of the Old Testament. And then you do 4 years of the interpretation of the New Testament. Now, when they say Christ walk on top of the water, they're going to give interpretation that the water is the people. When they say Christ walk on top of the water, it means to say his spiritual elevation, his level of consciousness was higher than normal people. Therefore, it looked like he walked on top of the water. Again, it's those metaphors and proverbs like Munna Ginja. Doesn't necessarily mean to say you walk on food and go ho ho. Understand me? No. It just means it's a what they call anthropomorphic. Ke motho fatsho. Ba motho fatsa phofolo, wabo. It's like hey, letšatši le le kwatile, the sun is angry today. Letšatši le ka se kwate. The sun can't, it doesn't have human emotions. So it doesn't have human reactions like anger. You understand? But it is in the particular context of language which is anthropomorphic.
Which would be understood by the people.
Yes. So the Bible was written within that particular context. That is why the original priest was to be the interpreters. Now, these ones of ours, they came, they never went to theology college. They interpret some of these things based on their faith, not based on fact. And you see, faith is a problem because faith is believing in things without evidence.
Without evidence.
You know, faith is whatever you say, you know, I can't argue with it. It's your faith. If you're going to tell me that this man is your God, fine, he's your God. You see, just like how do we then arrive at the divinity of His Majesty within this context of Rastafari being a response to colonialism and slavery? The original idea of Haile Selassie or Rastafari as God, it does not have to be theologically correct.
True.
It is not based on theological facts or these biblical verses that they refer to. No. It is based on an indigenous ancient African practice, which is the deification of an individual. Because fundamentally, God is a deification of an individual. If I'm going to say, you are a God, you're my God, because I deify you as such. So it's a deification of an individual. So the Rastafari, we chose to deify an individual called Haile Selassie and say, this man is God. Now, the problem comes up when we start to use the Bible to try to justify that.
Can I put you in a corner?
You can never put me in a corner.
With your permission.
Please do. Try. Attempt.
Emperor Haile Selassie, alive or dead?
It is immaterial to Rastafari faith, whether he's alive or dead. Because the idea of Haile Selassie's divinity is not based on him being alive or dead. It's based on him existed. So hence, Rasta celebrate his birthday and his coronation. But Rasta don't celebrate his death, like Waf, Anin. So Rasta don't put death certificate on his throne because it is based, that is why Rastafari is a levity. It's a way of life. It is based on life, the manifestation of life. That this is a principle that when you take, it's supposed to prolong life. Like you were citing what I said one time in one of the funeral that we're only eating cabbage and spinach to prolong life, to prolong our appointment with the inevitable. Because from we are born, we begin our journey towards death. So from we are born, we're going towards death. So what we can do with trying to live vegan life, ital life, and all of that is to prolong that inevitable destiny, that inevitably you're going to die. Like we're talking about taking pictures, that I love taking pictures. People say, oh, you love taking pictures. I say, because
it's going to be needed in the future.
The future is going to demand these pictures. Because it is going to, it's an evidence that I once existed. It's a proof of life. And one of the reasons I don't believe in Jesus, because there is no picture of Jesus.
No
There's no
evidence.
photo. The only what you have is the paintings that was made by Michelangelo, commissioned by Pope in 1611. And Michelangelo, to have that portrait of Jesus, he has to get his gay partner, his homosexual partner. Now, what the people have and hang in their houses, like these black houses, we have a white Jesus, and in their churches, is a homosexual image of
Of the
Michelangelo. And they still tell you that
Michelangelo's partner.
fire-born gays and lesbians, but they worship the image of a gay. You see, this is where it comes from, because in Europe, one of the in those times, 500 years ago, one of the symbols of a homosexual males was long hair.
Exactly.
So they will identify them by long hair. So you had to take a man with a long
feminize
hair
them. They say-
because they knew that
they
Jesus
make
had long hair.
The artists, they called it, they made their features softer. Yeah.
So it is artistic depiction. It's a
artistic
painting.
depiction, yeah.
It's a painting. So therefore, I will not define my reality on a painting.
And I ask you this, Wena Abba, because it's difficult for even for a Christian with the Bible that says he died, but he rose again. No, but he died. No, but he rose again.
Listen, that one is even a little bit better strange. There is another one that is strange, very strange. the strangeness of the weird. That Jesus rose up Lazarus from the dead.
Okay.
Where is Lazarus now?
Where
He's
did he
dead.
go?
So he raised him up to come back and die again. For what? What is the miracle in that? You see, you understand? That is the strangest.
So, and I ask this in connection with Haile Selassie, because now in the Rastafari faith, Haile Selassie is a god, a deity. But now, you are speaking now of two perspectives or two camps of the Rastafari school of thought, if I hear you correctly. There is one school of thought that is biblically based, which is called Christafari. And then there's one school of thought that is based purely on an African experience with His Majesty in the forefront. Right? If ngikuzwa kahle. Now, these two schools of thought differ because in this one, they use the Bible to justify they are not eating they are not eating meat, they are growing of dreadlocks, them worshipping Haile Selassie as a god, and them viewing Ethiopia as heaven or Zion. And in this school of thought, we are using Haile Selassie as the evidence of Haile Selassie's experience, of existence.
Yes.
We are using Haile Selassie's words as the words of Haile Selassie as the word of God, not the word of Haile Selassie via the Bible.
Yeah.
So now, this one sounds indigenously African, whereas this one sounds influenced by Christianity.
Of course.
But I cannot help but compare what you're saying to our African practice of ubungoma. We have amangoma who go to church or use Christianity to justify idlozi. And then you come up with concepts of interchangeable concepts. No, idlozi is angel, ayisithunywa, ayugogo, ayumkhulu, and all of that. But now, here's the thing. It's a foreign application of practice within an indigenous application of practice, and then we lose the essence in transit.
Well, I'll do like this. Ne? Again, here we're speaking to the fact that Rasta used the Bible, which is a colonial book. So it comes with colonial ideas of what God is.
Or what should be.
Or what God should be. So therefore, it doesn't then ground itself on the African idea of what God is. Because in Africa, we talk of God, although we don't say God, we don't necessarily say He's omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, like this contradiction that they have, because they tell you that God is omnipotent, it's omnipresent. But omnipresent means He's ever present, He's everywhere. But He's still the same one who come and look for Adam and ask him, Adam, where are you? Well, Adam is hiding from him. And they start to play hide and seek in the garden. You understand? So where's the omnipotency there? So our African ideas have God who died. We talked of Osiris. The old
died first.
Yes. The others, they say, why they don't perform certain rituals? Because this God died long time ago. They don't know what it is. But it is because also the definition of death It's different.
It's different.
So now when Rasta Rasta say, Haile Selassie never die, it's because Rasta defined death within the
European
concept of death. And therefore resist death from that particular perspective. And deal with death in that particular perspective or understanding of he did not die, and so forth.
Same as Ebunyangeni. We consider Idlozi as somebody that died because we have this concept of Jesus who died and rose again. Therefore, Idlozi ugogo wami owafa now ubuyile uyang influencer. But my question now is, ugogo wakho yes ushonile ubuyile. Ufuna i-black label, ufuna i-cigarette. How is a deceased spirit going to experience a physical libation?
Well, you see, again, this person never left because death is not exiting this plane.
Okay.
Death is like, I'll use the example Mutabaruka used. Ne? That it's like you get into an open space. You put a building in an open space. Ne? Now, the space inside the building and the space outside the building is the same. The space inside of you and the space outside of you is the same. So what happened is death is the falling of the building. When the walls of the building fall, the building don't go with that space. The buildings, the building goes alone. The space still remains. So when a person dies, because most spiritual cultures, including Haile Selassie, they agree to the idea that the body is a temple. That this is a container that carry you, your life, which is the essence of your existence. Because the essence of your existence is your life. But it is contained by this container. Now, when this container goes, it doesn't go with you, with the life. It goes alone. That is why when you dream of umkhulu wakho, you don't dream her spirit. You see her as she is.
Okay.
Like she doesn't come as a ghost. That is why we say, I dream the spirit of my ancestors. It takes us back to that thing we're saying, there is no such thing as ancestor worship. Or that Africans worship the spirit of their dead ancestors.
Thank you.
Because who comes to you is that same person with the wrinkles and the mark and the scars that you knew that person with.
And the mannerisms.
Now, why would this person therefore want their black label and what? This explains to the idea of existence, that in the person of the person, there are many persons. When we greet you in plural. Dumelang. Sanibonani. Chobela. But because we are greeting them in you, because you are the total summary of everything that existed before you.
Nakog. Yigo ungena gama lakho.
Yes.
Ungena sibongo sakho.
You inherit that.
You inherit that.
As much as you inherited your nose.
Exactly.
You're not self-created. You don't decide that you're gonna have this nose.
Therefore,
so this nose come from somewhere that someone can say, if cool.
Ufuzo, genetics.
Yes.
Now, kunale saying it ditaola khadiba dimu. Meaning, if my existence is an extension of the existence of those who came before me, therefore, in my memory bank, soul memory bank, when they come up in my visions, my dreams, in my interactions, it's them stimulating or invoking that soul memory within me because I am them and they are me. I can never be separated from my ancestors. And because I can't be separated from my ancestors, I can therefore never worship them because we are one.
Exactly, because this is the same thing. You see, when you say Pabadimu, when you say Okpahla, when you say none of these things refer to worship. It's not a religious
or something outside of you.
No. It is a true homage, an acknowledgement of you in them, because
and them in
you. Because you are your ancestors sitting here, they are you there, which is everywhere. That is why we, the African God, is not somewhere, it's everywhere.
All the time.
Lechodimong doesn't mean the abode of God, the dwelling place of God, as in heaven. Because how to mudimu? Mudimu, it means, it comes from hudima. Mudimu is like, you see, when you take a paper, you put an ink in the paper. What does the ink does?
It stains the
penetrate and percolate the paper. That's what mudimu is that which is in everything and everywhere. That's why mudimu aruna everywhere. We don't have a specific place where you go and worship him,
God,
or a particular day for him. It's every time, everywhere. Your mother is busy cooking, they watch. Are you mudimu waka? You know, I wish.
Midumo. Which is basically vibration.
It's vibration. The seven
It's
laws.
me vibrating God. One of the seven hermetic. We'll get to that another day.
One of the seven hermetic laws.
Mudumo.
One of them is vibration. Because everything is vibration.
Yeah,
Kimudumo.
yeah, man.
Kimudumo. So is like one desiring a divine frequency, a divine vibration. Our one is a divine vibration within the seven
Which
hermetic
comes
laws.
from within you.
Within you, you're vibrating, you're reconnecting with what you're connected with. Now, even when we do umsebenzi wabaphansi or sipahla, or we do that, we are reconnecting with ourselves.
With what was truly in us.
It's like what Bob Marley said. It's like what Bob Marley said about ganja. He say, ganja reveal you to you.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't bring another external something to you. It's like we say ganja is a THC. It has THC. It's a tetrahydrocannabinol. Ganja is a psychoactive substance. So it makes you affect your character. If you smoke ganja, you're stupid, you get more stupid. If you smoke ganja, you're wise, you get more wiser. But you can't smoke ganja while you're sober and start to be drunk. You know, it doesn't make you change your character. It makes you excel your character. It makes you perfect your character. It makes you, it reveals you to you.
What you are.
Is a psychoactive substance. So, and this is the part where now, when you talk about connecting with the ancestors, amadlozi, you're only connecting with yourself. The concept of sankofa. Because we're constantly leaving ourselves behind.
Give thanks for that, when Abba, because now, even the word, pasha,
Yes.
pabadim.
Pabadim. That's why we pabadimu rejalebo.
All right. Because if I have this glass in my hand and it's carrying this water, and this water is poisoned, or it's stained or tainted, for me to get rid of the glass and the water, I drop it, and it goes pa. Iyaphahlaga. Now, ukuphahla is me expressing that which is in me to me. It's speaking to the wind. Nobody's going to respond. You understand?
Exactly. Because you see, the ancient saying is, if you want to talk to God, or if you want to talk to the divine, talk to the wind. Because the dead are not dead. The dead are in the wind. So the dead are dying of thirst. But you listen to this part. Listen to this part. The dead, they're supposed to be dead, you know. The dead are dying
of thirst.
Are dying of thirst. But how will the dead die when they're dead? But it's because the dead are not dead. So now when this thing they say we worship our dead ancestors, it's limitations of language of the other who constantly being defining us. So it's this thing of the othering, that it's always been the other. Preoccupied, obsessed with defining us. When you look at us and say, we are worshiping the tree. In principle, we're not worshiping the tree. We acknowledge the divine essence in the tree.
In it, which is within me.
Yes.
That's why
just
the
like
tree can heal me.
That is where they come up with animism. They worship animate objects. Polytheism, they worship many things. Pantheism.
They worship
and so,
nature
but they're missing the point that it is because
within them,
in the seven hermetic laws again, law number 1, the all is mind, mentalism. The all is mind. That is mudimu. Mudimu is in everything and everywhere. The divine is in everywhere. That is why we don't understand
the
people
all
tell you
in
about
all.
We don't understand about people tell you about holy Mount Zion. You're telling me that there is a certain geographical place on earth that are holier than others. But this earth, all of it supposed to have been created by the divine.
By the same person, by the same hand.
And carry the divine essence in it. So now, our people acknowledge that the divine is in everything. Divinity is a totality of all that is. It's a total summary of all that exists. It is divine. Our nature is divine. Our essence is divine.
That's why sizothi ngesintu into yonke. Into, now into has the same that is in umuntu. Muntu, kanto, into, zizinto. So everything has this existence, this energy, this divine existence. Because in African, we don't believe in we are here, next thing we are there. Everything is happening here, now. So even if in death I die, I exist, my existence does not cease. Therefore, the thing is, kukolento bathi idlozi is ancestor. Let's correct that as well.
You see, again, you see everything that we've been correcting and we're going to correct and we'll always correct, depending on how many episodes.
Language.
It is this thing that we are using European concepts
to define African
phenomena.
realities. Exactly.
You understand? Like death, asinto re buang ka yona.
Asinakufa.
Because rona
Death.
re o tlhokafetse.
Exactly.
Wa tlhokahala. Is needed.
Is needed.
Yeah. So it's everything. Like what you're saying is eventually and this is our problem, you know. This is what causes cognitive dissonance among us. That you're thinking something as Pedi and then we bua ka English.
And it doesn't make sense to you first. Like lento ngisho there's idlozi and ancestor. Ancestor are people who existed before you, your parents, your grandparents, those your forebears. That's ancestor according to the English translation of the word. Idlozi is not a person that gave birth to you. It is an energy, the essence of your existence. Yilento ekwenza umuntu. Yilento enza isihlahla isihlahla. It's the thing that makes this table a table. That is idlozi. Now, to say idlozi lam is madness. It's confusion, it's cognitive dissonance. Auna dlozi lako because you don't have your own divine electromagnetic energy that is specially created and generated in your bedroom.
Exactly. Because you see, we're coming back to that point that life has no individual personality.
Exactly.
That is why Rastafari we talk of I and I. That is why in Ngesintu we talk of Ubuntu. Because we are showing you the interconnectedness of life.
Of life.
Mutu ki mutu ka batho. I am because you are, therefore we are.
Without you, I don't exist. Without me, you don't exist.
I find my individuality within the collective. So because you see, I said in the person of the person, there are many people. You are the embodiment of many people. You are 33% your father, 33% your mother, 33% yourself. Now, within that, 33% of your mother is her mother and father. Within your father is her father and mother. And so forth and so forth. Within them is them. So it's a community. So when a person tells you that, me as an individual, I don't feel this thing, they tell you lies because the greater part of themselves is not even themselves.
Exactly.
You're only 33% of you.
Exactly.
You know, so the greater part...
66% of you is up against what you're saying.
That is why then Gaspedi in our Bantu languages, they're going to say, Mudimu wa gage ga rate se. They're not saying, yeah,
because the individual doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know?
So Babuaka, your essence, your divine essence.
That is a psychosis. That's a madness. Because
you see, this is the individualism that was introduced. His Majesty say individuality is a new thing. Now, if we go back, before individualism, there's always been collectivism. Like Botu, I am because you are. Like what the concept of I and I was supposed to mean and represent. Although today you'll get somebody say, me, I and I don't like that, but it's basically saying me and me.
We don't like that.
Yeah, no, you will say me and me, but originally it is me and we.
And us.
And us. It is the outer me and the inner me. It is the physical you and the spiritual you.
What I see in front of me as you is an expression of what is in me. That's why you can make sense to me when you speak.
Yes. Because you see, we are a mirror of each other.
We are a mirror of each other. We mirror each other.
We mirror each other. I'm you sitting there. You are me sitting here.
Yeah, man.
Because all life is interconnected. All life form. That is what the essence of Ubuntu is trying to point to many.
And this is why you cannot say idlozi is ancestors. because ancestors is individuals that make up you. But idlozi is the collective of what you are, which makes you part of what I am.
Which is your essence.
Which is your essence. Idlozi, energy that exists equally for everyone. So uzozwa abantu mina elam idlozi lifuna. There's a very big confusion there, because if ukhuluma ngedlozi, we should be speaking the same language. As you are saying, in the Rastafari faith, there was this Christian influence that derailed the objective. Esintwini, there is this Christian influence that derailed the objective. Because we are practicing similar things that I and I,
even in chematology, the Christian infiltration, the Christian essence that our people try to use to rationalize whatever they do, it is actually a stumbling block to spiritual growth. Because here you are talking about something that does not have its origin within our fertile soil, within our essence. It is not a true reflection of our essence. When you talk of what they call ATR, African Traditional Religion, when you talk of African spirituality, when you talk of Ubuntu, you're talking about your true essence as an African.
Who you are, not what you are.
Who you are, not what you are. Now, when we talk of Christianity, Islam, and even to a great extent, Christ Tafari, it is what you are.
Exactly. Because who I am is Thabo Muloisi.
And what you are
is Mupostol.
And you come back and you want to use what you are to define who you are. And it becomes a problem. You know.
It becomes a serious problem. The thing is...
So now, going back into clarify this aspect of Rastafari so that we don't leave people hanging and questions, is that this is a movement, like most movement, originated as a black liberation movement. But it finds itself now deviated by and for many reasons. Because today you have Rastafari from all nations. They say, there is a saying that white people don't join black organizations to be part of them. They join them to control them. True. So some will say, Bob Marley, through Bob Marley singing One Love, he brought white people for us in this thing, and then we move away from the Pan-African essence of this movement to a universalist idea. But universalism, as much as they will say New World Order, globalization, internationally accepted standard, these things are Western. These are euphemism for things that are Western. They'll say it's globalization. They'll say it's an internationally accepted
it's
standard.
Everything outside Africa.
It's everything outside of Africa and everything that is working to the disadvantage of Africa and the Africans. So, but then it looked like, because it is well accepted, there's a lot of things that were done against us that were well accepted. Apartheid, colonialism, at one time the whole world accepted it.
Exactly.
Slavery.
And it was funded by the millions.
Yes, look, Christopher Columbus went to Isabella, the girl queen of Spain, and the boyfriend, King Ferdinand, to fund his mission. And then you must look at the pattern. Then he was given 3 ships. Santa Maria, Naina, and Binta. Jan van Riebeeck went to his funders of the Dutch East India Company. They gave him 3 ships, Dromedaris, Rooigaard, and Goede Hoop. Like today, they say, when you want to tender, you must come with 3 quotations.
Okay.
Good. So there was a particular standard that they were going by, you see. Now, this particular standard that they were going by was this 3-ship thing. SS Jesus of Lubeck. Again, the Trinity.
Father God, Son, and Holy Spirit.
The Western logic that it is as easy as ABC.
Exactly.
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Again, the Western logic. 1, 2, 3, ABC. 3 ships, and so forth. But these people who funded these expeditions and voyages, they were stakeholders in our colonization. And therefore use other means to try to rationalize it and to justify it.
Latin America, Spanish America.
Yeah.
Because of the Spanish Queen's funding.
Yes. Now Rastafari, because it's a response to colonialism and slavery, everything that is a response, it is conditioned by the forces it is responding to. Now, because Rastafari, it is responding to colonialism and slavery, it is therefore by extension conditioned by colonialism and slavery. That because the white men have a white Jesus, you must have your black Jesus with dreadlocks. Opposition. So you are responding. It is therefore become reactionary instead of revolutionary. The only time it will become revolutionary is when it becomes uniquely itself. When you stop coming across people when you say, who said, are we Rasta, we are true Christians? Or when they say, Rasta, do you have a Bible? No, we are reading the same Bible as you. You know, from 2002, had we written our own Bible as Rasta and write in our Bible that ganja is our sacrament, you know that the Constitutional Court would have legalized it for us.
Long time ago.
Because nobody's going to argue with your holy book. Exactly. But the problem we did is we come up with the Christian book and we said, we quote 30 verses from the Christian Bible.
Which don't speak about ganja.
And we said this is referring to ganja, like the burning bush, the tree that was burning and so forth. Now, when they sit down, they're using the proportional system. They say in South Africa, we're 80% Christian, 90% religious, and 100% spiritual. Then they said, you know what, there are 80% people of this country who read this book and don't arrive at the conclusion that they must smoke dagga.
Okay.
But this is 1% that read this book and reach a conclusion that they must smoke dagga. This is
the 1%
this is a vulgarization.
Right. Exactly.
This is a hearsay. But if this 1% did go to their elders in Jamaica and sit down and write a book, their book, and proudly so, and said, it is our Bible, we wrote it ourselves. Because all this holy book, they were written by men. Even the Quran, they tell you that Muhammad was illiterate. In his own language, in his own culture,
illiterate and delusional.
He was illiterate, he could not read and write. So he had a man to write the Quran for him.
Ibn Bilal.
Bilal ibn al-Sudan or Bilal al-Sudan. They said the black man, the Ethiopian, the first Muslim, the first man who shouted Allah Akbar and all of that. He had to have somebody he dictated to write that book. Now you can't disagree with the Muslim when they tell you that their holy book say that when they kill you, they are going to heaven. It's a jihad. It is in their holy book. Now you can't disagree with Rasta when Rasta come with his book and saying, my Rasta Bible, it says we must smoke ganja. No counter government will. Otherwise, they would have done the exemption that they are being attempting to do from last year and this year. They say, Rasta, we want to give you exemption on cannabis. They would have done it long time ago because they would have said, in South Africa, Rastafari is one of the 7 constitutionally recognized religion or faith-based communities. So therefore, if you recognize something, you have a responsibility to promote and to protect it because it is constitutionally recognized. That is why we form part of this interfaith movement. That is why when they do their January 8th statement of the ANC, they will invite us to come and do prayers. When we do their social cohesion programs, their 16 days of activism against women and children, moral regeneration movement and so forth, they will call us to come and do prayers because we are one of the constitutionally recognized faith-based communities or religion. Now, you can't say we recognize Rasta, but we don't recognize their holy book. But it is when Rasta derail himself and use the Christian book and create a special a point of contradiction where it is debated that, yeah, but we can't legalize it on the basis of other faith book, which that faith does not smoke or use ganja in the name of their book.
What you're saying is very important because it's the same phenomena we experience in the African traditional practice, where you find, like the example is Tunya, we were mentioning earlier, there's only 7 Tunya. But now, every time umuntu atuhlushwa is Tunya or Umoya, it's always church reference.
Yes.
No, unale moya wasipostoli unale ngakhuluma ngomoya ngabhodla kangaka unale moya wazayoni unale moya washemba but kanti umoya lo has nothing to do with these communities. It's a universal phenomena. But now this is where I found that through the studies, through the years, you know, and engaging in people from different walks of life, you discover that, no man, every spiritual tradition or practice will talk about tenacity, Tunyas Gamenzi, the 7 Tunyas Gamenzi, we mentioned them. You'd find in the Hindu traditions, they talk about the 7 chakras. In the Bible, the 7 candlesticks or the 7 spirits, angels. The 7 angels. You go to old European traditions, they tell you about the dragon with 7 horns and all of that. This if practiced indigenously without the corruption of an outside force, which, by the way, came to take over, to colonize, to enslave, to just change your being. If these things are taken for what they are, I ask myself all the time this question, then if do I necessarily have to go to a church to acknowledge that? As much as in the Rastafari faith now, I have a gift of prophecy, a gift of dreaming, a gift of seeing, herbs, imiti. I grew up with a herbalist. Now I inherited that gift, but now I'm Rasta. Now I have to become something that I'm not in order to become something that I ought to be?
Well, you see, again, it comes to the issue of these two phenomena, or the phenomena and the noumena, the universals and the particulars. When you talk of these seven principles that are then found all over, these are seven laws of nature. These are seven laws of life, or the seven Hermetic principles.
I think let's touch on that a bit. We'll expand it another day.
These laws, when they're deeply expatiated, is that these laws, no man or God can bend them. You can take a stone and throw it up there, no matter how holy you are, and pray that it must not come back, it's going to come back. It's a law of gravity. It is beyond religion. Doesn't care what religion you belong to and how holy you are. So these are laws that belongs to no religion, belongs to no race, belongs to no space and time in particular period of existence. Now, when people take something that is so universal and make it particular, that is when this distortion comes in. And they started to tell you about things that defy this. Now, these laws, they apply everywhere. And they are found everywhere. The laws of cause and effect. The Easterners, the Asians, Buddhists, Hindus, they might elevate that a lot and talk about karma. Karma, this.
But it's basically cause and effect.
It's cause and effects. The Christians, they said, you reap what you sow.
Action, reaction.
Action, reaction. You know, and then it is there. So it is there. So we take things that are universal principles and make them particular, as if they belong to a particular religion,
school of thought,
a particular school of thought, a particular... I wanted to say also with, if you can dream, you can be a sango.
Exactly.
If you can dream, you are a psychic. But being a sangoma, to say we have a calling, doesn't mean to say all of us mele se twasele unyanga.
Exactly.
Utwasela idlos. Utwasela a whole lot of things. Now, this thing has been distorted to everyone now is being told to mele atwasele ubunyanga.
Like mina guwe angtwaselanga ubunyanga.
And then you went ahead and you become inyanga. Utwasele something else because in my school of thought, angitwasisi for ubunyanga. You know, ngitwasisela umoya. Ngitwasisela knowledge. I mean, I'm Tawaramanu, I'm the God of wisdom. So that's the area I specialize
Hence
with.
The result
knowledge.
Is...
Exactly. Hence you are a living testimony of that. And I'm glad that you don't miss that point because the ancient axiom, it says, a man who honors his teacher honors himself.
True.
So don't think if you had a teacher in life and say, this man was my teacher, it will make you less. It doesn't.
It actually elevates you.
What makes you less is when you try to make us believe that you were just born this way. Like a child born of a virgin birth. Like when consciousness is a social product.
Exactly.
Consciousness is a result of your environment.
You took it from
what
somewhere.
Influences you.
You got it from
surrounding influences you. Your ecology influences you. You are the product of your environment. That is who we are. I said many times and listened to many masters. I sat in the feet of many masters. I didn't start it and become a grandmaster. No, I learned and I continue learning because every master was once a mess.
Exactly.
And I've been a mess many times and I'm still a mess.
But the fact that the
life is,
mastership comes in you perfecting your mess.
yes,
putting it back in order.
accepting it, dealing with it, managing it, and having your own set of disciples, if you wish, or those who subscribe to your school of thought. That is now the level of mastership, but also that particular acknowledgement and so forth that you now can be called all over and popular opinion. We want to hear your opinion. Unfiltered, we want to hear your opinion and so forth. But this doesn't take away the fact that Rastafari is a journey in wisdom. Life is a journey in wisdom. Every day we learn. There is no end to learning. His Majesty say, a man who say, I know enough and I know everything or I know enough, that man is a fool.
He's a fool.
He's dangerous. You must run away from him because nobody knows everything. Every day add something. Actually, there is an African proverb that says, in Africa, every day the ear hears something new. Every day. There's something new. And if a day passed by without hearing something new, it's a waste of existence. It's a waste of efforts. Officer oxygen, or you're wasting breath.
Utlatsa space.
Yeah, utlatsa space. So because every moment should be a moment of enlightenment. That is why in our African spirituality, in the context of Ramasedi, we talk of Ramasedi, the great light. And then those who follow Ramasedi are called Banabalisedi. They are praying for what? For Lesedi. When we finish our prayers, what do we say? Lesedi. Khanya. Because these people, they don't take into cognition the principle of light and darkness being in opposing. You know, they take into existence that there is a greater light and lesser light. That the ignorant are ignorant of their ignorance. The unaware are unaware that they are unaware. So the ignorant are not willingly and willfully ignorant. They are ignorant of the fact that they are ignorant. So they're living in a lesser light. They're not living in darkness because anyone who faces the sun is enlightened. Anyone who lives through the light of the day is in light, is not in darkness. So there is no such thing as somebody's totally ignorant, like how colonialism tried to present us as Africans, that we are totally ignorant. No, we're ignorant of their ignorance.
Because we just cannot say, isibindi liver.
Yeah.
Or
no.
inhliziyo heart.
No.
I give thanks, Abba.
Yes, man.
Sikhulume kakhulu, and we touched on the 7 Hermetic principles, and if we can go into them, angeke siqede namhlanje.
Yeah.
But
no, they'll keep on popping.
They'll keep on popping in as we talk, you know,
because we say
because they are part of this. These are the laws of nature,
yes.
like the laws of gender. Oguti, now we are sitting here, siyakhuluma. One has to be masculine, the other has to be feminine. I have to listen while you talk, and the other way around. We are constantly changing roles. Now, is that to say, going to this GBV thing, you know, this gender-based violence and inequality and equality and all of that. In Africa, we don't have that concept.
No.
Because in Africa, we understand that naturally we are all feminine. The greatest energy in the world is feminine. The great goddess, the mother, Uma, Nina Wanuma, which means people belong to me. I own everything. Yonkinto eyam. Now, that female energy is the essence of who and what we are. This is why we are called Bantu.
Well, I think we need to clarify that so that we must not be found to be contributing to the effeminization of women.
Exactly.
Of men.
Of men.
You see, me and you are wearing like duke now.
Okay.
Teben.
Bazoto.
And then long thing. There's a lama tota kogi duke no lock. You know, they said that they're coming here to make us women.
In fact, it happened before.
I remember they used to say, those rastas of say, they said, kogi no lock. Now, we need to clarify that. Is that when we say Mudimi, we are talking about androgynous force, an energy that have both male and female in it. When you're talking of existence, you're talking about an androgynous space.
Constantly
a space that
interchanging
male
energies.
and female. So there is a female in you because you're shaped by the placenta of a woman. And there is a male in a woman because she's formed by the sperm of man.
Amen.
That is why it is easy for women to become lesbian and act men even if they're not men. Because it's that little man in them. Like, we have nipples, all of us. Ours, they don't produce milk, you know?
But they're as sensitive.
You know? So we have the longer horn, they have the smaller horn, and then we get honey, all of that, you see. You see, we have, they will even to the point of saying that even at the point of love making, when you climax, you begin to sound like a woman.
Okay.
So
You're constantly interchanging these energies.
but basically what it's saying is that there is a female energy in the male and there is a male energy in the female. That is why even Nagodlos,
Like electricity, positive
and
energy.
negative.
And positive and negative make electricity.
like one of those 7 laws, what they call hermetic laws, because we need to decolonize them. They're not hermetic
They're
laws.
not, exactly.
But
They're
we'll come to that.
universal truths.
Yeah. Now, one of that is that the brain has got 2 spheres, the left side and the right side. One is feminine, one is masculine. One is dealing with intuition, one is dealing with something completely different from that. So there is that coexistence. Just like the concept now, when we come into this thing, they like to say African culture is patriarchal. African culture is not
It's
patriarchal.
never been patriarchal.
It's never been. The man is the head of the home state. The woman is the head of the family.
Okay.
Umuzi wami ekhaya lakhe.
Okay.
Yabo? So our roles has always been complementary.
Complementary.
So we talk of existence that was based on cooperative affair, not competitive affair, not a competition between the male and the female, which then create the gender-based violence and so forth.
And all of this nonsense that we go through now. Because now there's a misunderstanding, because now these two things are competing with each other. Because in the West, masculinity is supreme. It's a patriarchal system. Whereas here, it's a balance. Idlozi has nothing to do with humanity. It's an energy that is outside humanity or person or individual. But you refer to your people as abokoko, nabomkhulu. And you cannot uguti mawuphahla uthi ngibiza abomkhulu bodwa. Positive energy only or negative energy. It needs to merge and work together and form that electric current. Bonga kakhulu aba.
Yes, man. No, you see, before Uvala, ne, it comes to the principle of complementarity.
They keep on popping up.
If we look at life as a complement, if we look at men and women as natural complement of each other, if we look at humanity as a complement, then we know that there is the notion of superior race or master race is a false notion.
It's a false notion.
The notion of others being higher than others and others being lower, it's a false notion. There is no one who's greater than the other here. We are different.
Having different experiences on a similar journey.
Yes. So now this difference, this diversity does not account to the difference that creates the problem. But now because of the world still need to be initiated more and more as we continue initiating them. The world still need to be initiated to higher truth. That we understand that my way is not the only way. My way is the other way.
Another way.
There are many ways. Therefore, my way of seeing things, I mean, like people who will be part of this conversation, they'll have different views. And we expect them to. At the end of the day, we're not money. We can't be loved by everybody. And we can't be expecting that everything you say resonate with everybody.
With everybody.
Because what you say also, it takes a certain level of comprehension for one to resonate with it. If they're not elevated to that level of comprehension, it will fly above them. It will fly above the radar. So it will be a problem.
It's like taking a walk down a road, a short path, a short street. 4 men take a walk path. It was a study case done by a psychologist, Carl Jung. 4 men take a walk down a short path. And then at the end of the path, they have 4 different stories about what they saw on the road.
Yes.
So which man was lying?
No one.
No one was lying.
You see, interesting. I watched, I think it was the Olympics or what, Usain Bolt was running, the Jamaican runner. And then about 7, I think it's 7 tracks, ne? 7 of those, or 4 or 5 of those guys, they all did this before they ran. I was like, oh, now it's getting interesting, you know, because there's going to be one winner, you know, but all of 4 of them, they did it.
Who's God going to help?
Who has God on his side? God was on nobody's side. Everybody had to use their ability.
Exactly.
You see. So Usain Bolt used his ability more than the rest.
And
are you going to
won.
say those other 4, God decided that, nah, next time, guys,
Namhlanje nginika lo.
Decide another Jamaican,
Okay.
you know. So, you know, so
It's a problem.
Is this thing that our level of understanding realities of life, that's why Rasta talk about understand, overstand, and I understand. Because to understand is to go under in order to comprehend. To overstand is to go over, is mind over matter.
To master it.
So you reach a point where you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So you project the mind over the matter. So you don't get so personal with other people's opinions that this one is, they spend hours in talking about their opinion and you get offended. No, you need to get life, you know, grow up. You know? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah, man.
If these are not the type of your subject, don't give them audience.
Because you're going to be offended.
Because they're going to debilitate you. They're going to make you, they're going to make you about a vomiter, understand? I always said to the students of IKS at the University of Northwest, when I'm always given opportunity to come and talk to them, I always say that if there's something about African culture, African spirituality and African philosophy that makes you puke, this is not your subject.
Don't deal with it.
Don't deal with it.
Don't
Because
deal with it.
you're going to do a disservice to it. You're going to start to try to do an African thing in a European way. Or
And
in a Christian way.
this is the problem that we are facing today in closing. Oguti, today we have so many movements, so many groups, so many schools, so many videos. We are one of them today. We are sitting here, you know, talking about African spirituality, African culture, African history, but it's all from a non-African perspective.
I mean, the language you are using right now.
Exactly. Yabo? So, kuyafuneka ke ukuthi sibuyele emasisweni, you know, sibuyele to who and what we are, and express the gods that we are. In closing, I'd love to thank you, Abba.
Give thanks.
And you're still teaching me.
Yeah, of course.
You've been teaching me, and you will always teach me. I told you, even in your death, I will wake you up for the next lesson.
Each one teach one. We are learning from each other.
Give thanks, Abba.
Give thanks. Blessed love.